Welcome to Sports from the Couch.
I gotta say, it's the stupidest thing in sports.
With your host, Mike Mercado.
Players cannot stand him. Coaches cannot stand him. Most importantly, the fans can't stand him.
Brought to you by Mercado Airwaves.
I'm gonna say it once, and hopefully I'm wrong, but it's a disaster waiting to happen.
That is so bad, that is absolutely brutal.
Hello, friends, and welcome into another edition of Sports from the Couch here on Mercado Airwaves. I'm your host, Mike Mercado. I want to thank you so much for making us part of a beautiful Monday, March 22nd, 2021 here in the beautiful city of Chicago. And on today's episode of Sports from the Couch, we have to break down the madness, the craziness, the lunacy, the absolute wonder that has been the 2021 NCAA Men's Basketball Tournament. March Madness has delivered in every single way, and no other greater way than right here in this wonderful state, this beautiful city, as the Loyola-Chicago Ramblers beat the University of Illinois Fighting Illini, moving on to the Sweet 16, busting everybody's bracket here in the States, and not just our state, all the brackets are busted. We got to talk about it right here on Sports from the Couch. But before we get to today's episode, let's take care of some housekeeping notes. You can follow us all over the universe. I'm on Twitter at Mike Media, Instagram, Mike Mercado Media, and follow the show on Twitter at Couch Sports Talk. Like, rate, review, and share us wherever you get your favorite podcast at Mercado Airwaves. Become a producer of the show at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves, the home to our interviews with athletes and celebrities that you could get ad-free before anybody else. That's patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. We have swag. Check us out at teespring.com/Mercado Airwaves. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/Mercado Airwaves Network. Come play video games with us on Twitch, twitch.tv/Mercado Airwaves, and keep up to date with everything we're doing on the network, from the Pop Culture Show, the True Crime Show, our sister podcast, the Gone Missing Podcast, by following us on Twitter at Mercado Airwaves.
Breaking news here on CBS Sports HQ. We have our first one seed going out of the NCAA tournament. Midwest top dog Illinois going down 71-58 to Loyola-Chicago. The Illini came into the game favored by 7.5 in this in-state rivalry, but as we said in the pregame, you can throw numbers, you can throw form and metrics out the window in games like these. It's all about who wants it more. The Ramblers never trailed in the game, led by 9 points at halftime and as much as 14 points. They're looking to emulate their 2018 run deep into the tournament. When they went to the Final Four, they will play the winner of Oregon State versus Oklahoma State in the Sweet 16.
And there it is, friends. The Loyola Ramblers are moving on to the Sweet 16 after beating the number one seed, the University of Illinois Fighting Illini, and it was one hell of a game. We mentioned it Selection Sunday, that when this matchup came out in the brackets, that the Fighting Illini got hosed. Loyola was not an 8 seed to begin with, guys. Loyola was a 5 seed. A 6 seed. They have a Horizon League Defensive Player of the Year. This is a team that's been to the Final Four. They have a really, really good head coach. They have really, really good players that buy into the system, and they are the personification of the madness that is in March. We've seen it from North Texas. We've seen it from Oregon State. We've seen it from Ohio. It is upset city, and they have been destroying brackets, and it got me thinking. We'll get into kind of our thoughts about the Loyola-Illinois game in just a second, but I want you guys to think about this as we talk about that game. And that's, are all these upsets good or bad for the tournament? Is it good that you have teams that are making Cinderella runs, or is it better to have these blue chippers, the blue bloods, be on top of the brackets? We'll tackle that in just a second, but that game, I think this is what we have to kind of acknowledge here locally in the state of Illinois, the city of Chicago, and if you're just a hoops fan. There are matchup problems in all sports. It's not just boxing, it's not just UFC, MMA. When you go against somebody that has everything it takes to beat you, it doesn't matter how good you are, and it doesn't matter how much the other team may perceive to be lower than you. When they have everything it takes, the formula to give you problems, they're always in the game. They're always in it. And that's what happened in this Loyola-Illinois game. Loyola is a really good team, underrated. overlooked nationally, and rightfully so here in the state of Illinois, because the University of Illinois looked really good. From Io and Kofi, they have a really good team. They have a really nice nucleus, and I think this U of I team is going to bounce back next year, and they're going to make a deep run, especially if these guys who are able to come back do. And the whole argument of they played bad, that they were trash. And first of all, these are kids. Second of all, give credit to Loyola. They never let up. They had perfect setups on defense and answers on offense. Vice versa. Like, this Loyola team showed up to play, and it was a matchup that we knew U of I was going to get tested. And if they were going to win a national championship, this was going to be the matchup that they were going to be tested the hardest, the most. And sure enough, they were. They never led in the game. And in the other side for Loyola, this was just another moment to show the world that they aren't a fluke, that they aren't this team that's just going to be happy to be there. They feel like they have unfinished business. And they feel like they have a coach that at any given moment can be recruited to some of these huge, huge universities, these huge institutes. It was the perfect game plan. It was the perfect coaching plan. It was the perfect execution amongst players. That's why Loyola beat U of I. And U of I shouldn't feel bad about themselves. U of I should bounce back. U of I is going to bounce back. And I'm telling you right now, in the next 4 years, the University of Illinois will win a national championship in basketball. I believe it. But it's like the Virginia thing. It's hard to win in this tournament after going through a murderer's row in the Big Ten, in the Big Ten Conference, in the Big Ten Conference Championship, winning that, and then being the number one seed. And then playing a team that has a lot of guys that have played a lot of your guys since they've been kids. It was a tough draw for the University of Illinois. It's been a tough tournament for the Big Ten. And this was a conference that we all hyped up. You know, I never understood conference pride, division pride, league pride. You know, I understand civic pride. I understand supporting your team, your alma mater. But I've never rooted on the NL Central because I'm a Cub fan. I've never rooted on the NFC North because I'm a Bears fan. So I've never understood like rooting on the Big Ten because you went to a certain school, or the Pac-12, or the SEC in general. College sports really has that. But it's interesting. I've never really understood that. But Big Ten not having the greatest of tournaments. And as we're recording this, Iowa getting that work done on them by Oregon. The Ducks have really shown up. The same thing with the other Oregon teams. So the Big Ten, not the most fun that they're having in this tournament. But in general, I think it was a disappointment for U of I, especially when you do have national championship hopes. But I don't think it was a failure. I think they had a wonderful season. I think they had a wonderful conference championship run. And I think this is a team that can bounce back, and that they had great recruiting classes, and that they've shown that they can be up there with the big boys in the Big Ten. And they're one of these institutes that all they're missing is a national championship. If they want to be, this is the one thing U of I fans, people in the States who don't follow it, what we have to understand is, in college men's basketball, U of I, the Fighting Illini, are prestige. Except they don't have a championship. And it's this thing that we talk about all the time. And a recent example is in the NBA. You have a team like the Toronto Raptors, right? They've had good teams. And nobody ever says they're a horrible franchise. But it's not until you win that championship and you become one of those teams on that pantheon of champions, does it all change? The perspective change. The prestige changes for your institute, your organization, your franchise. And that's what's going on for the University of Illinois. Because guess what? Guess who does have a national championship? Even if it's a long time ago, a national championship nonetheless. Loyola-Chicago. That's right, the Ramblers. So it's the ghost. It's the GOAT. It's the anchor that this university is going to have to get over one day. But I do think they're in the right track. I think they're going in the right direction. But with that, what a wonderful, wonderful tournament for Loyola. a Sweet 16. And that's nothing to, if it ends at the Sweet 16, good for them. Another wonderful run, another way for them to recruit and Moser to get the most out of this opportunity that his team is getting. And these guys who missed the tournament last year, they all missed the tournament last year, but one of these moments that they were going to get in to the NCAA bracket last year if it wasn't for the COVID shutdowns. So while this seems like an upset for a lot of people, because it is, rightfully so, it is one, it is an 8, it is a 1. But I think it's a little disingenuous if we think it's the biggest thing, if it's this George Mason-esque type of defeat. Because it wasn't that. This was a team that was really good, overlooked, and did their job, and now have a chance to really move forward depending on how this matchup shakes out in the Sweet 16. And if it works out for Loyola, and if they're able to make it to another Final Four, the legacy for Moser, the legacy for the university, and hell yes, the legacy for Cameron Krutwig, it all just hits a new level. And that's what's on the line for the Ramblers these next 2 weeks, and if they can make a serious run. With that, the tournament's been crazy. All the brackets are busted. My bracket was busted after Loyola beat the University of Illinois. So it got me thinking, the algorithm must have been reading my mind. Is there any evidence? Is there something to put a real grasp on of, is this tournament any more nuts than normal? And I got this from Pete Thamel over at Yahoo Sports. And I really suggest you guys check this out. It is about the actual craziness of the tournament. It came out on Monday, March 22nd, so you guys could check that out. With number 15, Oral Roberts, number 12, Oregon State, and number 11, Syracuse, already in the Sweet 16. It has felt like one of the most dizzying NCAA tournaments in history. The statistics back it up. As for the first weekend of the 2021 tournament, has already experienced the most upsets prior to the round of 16 in tournament history. Tournament media director David Warlock said on Sunday night that the 2021 NCAA tournament's 11 upsets have already broken the record for most upsets prior to the round of 16. And that's still with 8 more games to be played on Monday, March 22nd. The NCAA defines upsets as games won by teams seeded 5 spots or more lower than the favorite. For example, number 10 Rutgers beating number 7 Clemson isn't an upset, while number 11 Syracuse beating number 6 San Diego State is. That number has a chance to grow from 11 on Monday, as 6 of the 8 games are between teams seeded 5 spots or more apart. The 11 upsets prior to the round of 16 bested 8 different tournaments with 10 upsets by that point. That's 85, 86, 90, 02, 06, 13, 14, and 18. And the last thing I want to hit on from this article from Pete Thamel, you guys can check it out over at Yahoo Sports. How wild has this tournament been? The 8 teams in the round of 16 come from 8 different conferences. The record for most leagues represented in the round of 16 is 12, which was set in 2008. That record has a chance to be tied as the MAC with Ohio, Southland, Albany Christian, the WCC with Gonzaga, and the Big Ten with Michigan, Maryland, Iowa all have chances at wins on Monday. The 2021 NCAA tournament also distinguished itself as having 4 seeds of number 13 or higher advancing, which broke the record for the most ever. So if you're sitting there wondering, this is crazy, this is not normal, this is the weirdest, strangest, most upside down, topsy-turvy tournament we've ever seen, it kind of is, friends. So circling back, let's kind of tackle this in the question that I asked you in the beginning of the show. Is it good when there are a ton of upsets, when there are a bunch of Cinderellas in the Sweet 16, the Elite 8, the Final Four? It's an interesting conversation because there's a few perspectives of it. If you're just a fan, a novice, somebody who just likes the drama, I think it's good when there are a few upsets. With that, I think you do need the big names. Kind of using a wrestler term, okay? If you're going to put somebody over, you're going to need the superstar. So if you're going to have Stone Cold Steve Austin put over a rookie, you need Steve Austin. You need the superstar there. So if you're going to have somebody like North Texas, Loyola, Ohio, so on and so forth, you need them to be beating teams like Ohio, U of I, Indiana, Kentucky, Kansas, so on and so forth. I think it's also dangerous to have all nothing but blue bloods, blue chippers. I think if you're a fan who's just enjoying it, you want that mixture. If you're a TV executive, you want the ratings. So you're willing to see Loyola beat U of I, a 1 seed, because you're getting the Chicago market. You're getting the Illinois market. But do you want Ohio to be beating Ohio State? How big of a upset is that? Do you want a Albany Christian going far compared to a Texas? I don't know if you're a CBS executive. If you're a gambler, you want the wildness, the craziness. If you're a purist, you want the best teams. And I think that's what's so fascinating about this, is what is the mindset of the viewer? Because it is going to go a lot of different directions. Do you like the parity? Because in some sports, when there is a lot of parity and it is up in the air, a lot of fans don't enjoy it. Because let's be honest, it's the same thing in movies, television shows, books. You want the antagonist. You want the evil empire. You want the Dukes, the New York Yankees, the Los Angeles Lakers. You want those teams to beat the Goliaths. And you want to see the underdog win. But you also want to see all-time great legendary matchups. You want to see chapters being written for legacies. So I don't think that there's a definitive answer. I think it's the Goldilocks and the Three Bears. They're just right in the middle. You want some upsets. You want some legacy, and every once in a while, you want to make it possible for the little guy to win. I think if a mid-major, a quote-unquote mid-major, or a lower seed wins the tournament every few years, every 5, 6, 7 years, and sprinkled in between there are 1, 2, and 3 seeds, that's perfect. Because it just keeps things interesting, and it gives people an opportunity for recruitment, and it keeps kids in class, in school. And it helps the talent. Because look, the guys who are going to go to the NBA are going to go to the NBA. But if you can find those guys who will be in the league but aren't going to be lottery picks, you want that parity. And you want to see it all around the league. Because here's the thing. And we're seeing it around all sports. It is closing. The gap is, especially in basketball, when it comes to shooting. And if you have some effort and you have basketball IQ that's high enough, you'll be in these games. And that's why every March we see these upsets. So I think it's somewhere in the middle. I think you want to see these upsets, and I think you need some of these legacy, blue blood, blue chipper programs heading towards Sweet 16s, Final Fours. And then every once in a while, you need a Cinderella to make a run. Sit back and relax, enjoy the rest of the madness. And speaking of brackets being broken, Oregon just beat Iowa. We are watching it live here in the studio, so another upset has happened. So Oregon moving forward, and not just that, we also know that Loyola will be taking on Oregon State in the Sweet 16. It is going to be a wonderful time. Let us know, friends, all over the universe, how bad does your bracket look now? How good is your alma mater doing? How much fun are you enjoying having March Madness back in our lives, in our hearts, and on our television? Follow me all over the universe. I want to know. I'm on Twitter at MikeMedia, Instagram, Mike Mercado Media, and you can follow the show on Twitter at Couch Sports Talk. But that'll do it for us on this edition of Sports from the Couch here on Mercado Airwaves. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. Don't forget, you can follow us all over the universe. I'm on Twitter at MikeMedia, Instagram, Mike Mercado Media, and follow the show on Twitter at Couch Sports Talk. Like, rate, review, and share us wherever you get your favorite podcast at Mercado Airwaves. Become a producer of the show at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves, the home to our interviews with athletes and celebrities that you could get ad-free before anybody else. That's patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. We have swag. Check us out at teespring.com/Mercado Airwaves. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/Mercado Airwaves Network. Come play video games with us on Twitch, twitch.tv/Mercado Airwaves, and keep up to date with everything we're doing on the network. From the Pop Culture Show, the True Crime Show, our sister podcast, the Gone Missing podcast, by following us on Twitter at Mercado Airwaves. Enjoy all the games. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. We will see you next time here on Sports from the Couch on the Mercado Airwaves Network. I'm Mike Mercado.